Yeah, I'm a person who resists not moving, stillness and calm.
And what if you cannot, what if you couldn't resist this?
Now the thought came, it's scary.
Mhm.
It feels like then I have no power, no control, and basically it's like I could also die any moment.
Mhm. Yeah. And what if the control is just a thought and the dying is just a concept in that sense? And there's just,
This kind of golden, glittery, mysterious magic river out of which a lot of creative pew, pew, pew come out.
I love the pews.
I would really love to be able to more often really tell the mind, it's okay.
Mhm.
It's okay.
Mhm.
Now we just take a rest. Let me
Yeah.
just rest for a moment.
Take it easy. Like when in the mind game, when believing all of that, when taking it so seriously, it
Mm.
wasn't that fun for me anymore, right? There was no moment of crying.
Hmm.
And in that, there is this cautiousness. Like, I don't want to go in spiritual bypass or any kind of
Mhm.
bypass, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, there was even the thought and the belief coming in, oh, I should cry, right?
Mhm.
But that is just a belief.
Yeah. Can come anytime later or not.
So here we are, and I'm grateful too. It's just it's just a joy to do this, right? It's just a
Mm.
joy to give this. It's just a joy, and I'm saying it's a joy to give this, and even like I'm also not the one who does it in that sense, right?
Mhm.
As in the I or whatever you call it, right?
Mm.
Because like I'm just asking questions that will point to something that I cannot even name. Like I don't even know, right?
Mhm.
I know shit in that sense. There's also with me the
Yeah.
that what you did like you did like
Yeah. Sometimes the only thing you can do, like, so I love this emoticon also. I use it quite often. Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So we're both in the I don't know in that sense. And that's a beautiful way to begin, I would say, because in that sense, if we're both in the I don't know, and there's not one of us that knows, right? Then there are no pedestals.
Mm.
Then there's no that I should be the whatever you would call this, a
Mhm.
coach, a therapist, or whatever.
Mm.
Because I'm not, and as in I don't know. Of course, you've experienced a session in which I was the therapist, but that honestly doesn't even make sense to me anymore to do.
Mm.
Um,
But even in that, in those times that we spoke, I still feel that just as well things were revealing themselves to both of us.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you are in a way guiding someone, like, yeah, like trying to pull a thread. Or I don't know how to say it. You're trying to do that, but what comes with the thread, you don't know. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, in
exactly.
that sense, I feel anyway a very humble
Mm,
energy in that.
mm,
But I'm
mm.
very curious now how it even is different. As
Yeah,
you
yeah.
feel
This is
so
so different.
excited. I mean, I can feel how you're like, wow, this is such a revelation way, or like reading everything how you did it before. I'm like, wow.
Beautiful, beautiful. Even the cat is getting excited behind you there. She's like, yes, now I want to know too. Like I'm going to stretch that thing all over. I want to know too. Give me those questions.
Funny. Some questions coming your way. Oh.
or toy, whatever. So back to playing, which is also a beautiful topic. But just wanted to name in between that why I'm saying that it doesn't make sense what I did before is because it's not that as in itself it doesn't make any sense. But for me, it doesn't make any sense to just do that because that work that I did is helping people on a certain level to go to a certain level, to set a step, to personal develop, to whatever, right? So it helps growing in a container.
Mm-hmm.
But this, why would you go into a container? Like, why would you even, with this, there's like, but container? What
Mm,
sense does that make?
mm, yeah.
And I cannot really explain that well, but to just ask you questions.
Mm.
So I would say let's just go into it.
Let's do it.
So it could be nice. Let's just go really, really into it.
Mm.
So without any story, because normally I'd like to ask like a bit about your story, and if you would love to tell me something about it, we can also start with that. But if you feel like I want to dive in right in, what do you want?
Yeah, I really feel I want to get away from all the explanations and
All the okay. We dive in. What do you believe right now?
that life is pretty crazy.
Life is pretty crazy. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I just I can never know.
Hmm.
That's something I really realize now. I just don't know what's around the corner. I
Yeah.
just cannot know.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm. And around the corner, that involves a future, right? Because there should be something around the corner. Right now, you're not around the corner,
Yeah,
so you're thinking about a corner, so
yeah,
something behind there, so future.
yeah.
What if you couldn't go to that future? So we do that with our thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot go back into the past.
Mm.
If you can do that with your thoughts,
Oh, that would be so helpful.
yes. So if you cannot do that, what do you believe at this moment?
All is well.
All as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you even without that belief that all is well?
I don't know, just existence.
Yeah.
Just yeah, just some consciousness, some existence. I don't know how to phrase it. Yeah.
What is there in between existence and no existence?
Yeah, in a way, I doubt that there is a no existence. It's just a different way of existing.
Hmm. Hmm.
So maybe it's more a matter of consciousness then. Like in
Hmm.
this human body or this life somehow, I have a consciousness. But even that, I believe if I leave this life or
Yeah.
since it's all connected, there is a consciousness either way, no matter what I do in my particles or whatever. So I don't know how, yeah, don't know what else to say. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even that is a concept, right? Even that is a belief. Even that is a thought, a concept like
Mm.
existence or no existence, or believing that there is no existence, or believing that there is existence, whatever, right? There's all
True.
words. It's all made up in that sense.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
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 So what is in between? So these are all words, all
Mm.
thoughts. What is in between thought and no thought?
Just a space, empty space. Well, it's never empty. They say, here we go again, a concept. Space never being empty, but there is space. We don't, I mean, it's all concepts, right?
Yeah.
I need to use words that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
have to identify stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, it's like as with music, from one note to the other, or I hear something and not, it's a space.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to call it.
So what would be in between space and no space? And can you even think of it?
No, I'm
All right.
trying. I see how
Yeah.
my brain is trying. It's quite interesting to observe how it's really like, uh, yeah, it says no, that's somehow not possible.
Yeah. It kind of blanks out, right?
Yeah, yeah, space and no space, no.
So in that blanking out of the mind, how is it? How do you feel?
I sense a mix of calm and something very nervous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the mind seems very like, whoa, how come you're asking me to answer?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It should not happen.
Yeah. Because it wants to know, right? The mind wants to know. But this you cannot know.
So
As
it's
in,
now trying to make up stuff. It's like, oh, maybe there's light,
yeah,
or maybe there's
maybe,
something. There must be
yeah.
something.
So
Mm.
what if you just don't know? How is it if you just don't know?
Yeah, again, there's a part that feels very calm and like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
of course I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, I feel it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Because also because you're so used to it, right?
mm,
You're so used to it. Like we're kind of instead of oh, I'm going to put this one off. So instead of um alcoholics, someone who drinks a lot of alcohol, you call it the alcoholic, right?
mm,
Alcoholic. We're kind of like most thoughtaholics,
yeah,
so used to it all the time,
definitely.
going on and on and on and on. But
Mm,
what happens when you're off of the alcohol, right? You're like sobering up, and
mm.
it can feel similar in a kind of way, right? Have you ever experienced that? Like when you sober up, like when you
No, because
sober up
I'm not
from
so familiar with alcohol, but now I'm just sensing into, let's say, just being really deeply in a present moment
yeah
while I'm looking at a tree or something. It's just like, whoa, I'm just here.
yeah
Then I also don't know anything, or I don't think anything much. I mean, there's always something, but
hmm
that feels just calm. Whereas when now you pose this question, it really was like, yeah, as if
hmm
you had asked me, I don't know, where's the soul of the tree or something, and I'm like, I don't know the answer.
yeah yeah
Um,
yeah.
yeah, there's some, yeah,
So what is there in between mind and no mind?
yeah. I still sense it as space and silence.
A space.
Yeah, mm,
Mm.
yeah, like mm.
Let's take it even further. What is in between you and not you? So me, what is in between me and no me?
Hmm. What comes to me is dying. It's, yeah,
What
like
is
it's
in between dying and not dying?
a space.
Yeah. And can you even put it into words? That.
Not really. Like that's why the only
Yeah.
word can come
Yeah.
to me is space. It's like there's a yeah
Yeah.
empty space. I don't know. It's emptiness, but it's space.
Yeah.
But,
Empty space. Yes.
yeah.
And try to give it a word. And then still, is it that? Not really, right? It's like,
Mm.
is it that word? It's not that word. It's just a word, right?
Yeah. That's yeah. We don't have much more than those words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So there is something here that words cannot capture, right?
Mm. Yeah. And I want to say it's like a feeling, but there's no feeling in not me.
Hmm. But can you describe something that, and I know that in the describing you can never really capture it, but just for the joy of it, for the let's just go for it. Like, what what is there an experience there? Is there, so for example with need there can be a clarity. It can
Yeah.
feel quite
Like
light.
very sharp and very soft at the same time. And the word that came to me now is love.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Something that's so all encompassing and yet we cannot describe it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's everywhere. Like it's in between or not even in between. Yeah, I don't know how to say.
Yeah.
It's like the
Yeah.
net underneath all the being and non-being and the
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, it feels like dense, sharp, but also
Hmm.
very soft and translucent. Like you can definitely not touch it or grab it. Like mm,
Hmm.
not think it. It is yeah.
Hmm.
Mm,
So apparently this is what is here when not thinking, right? When not being distracted with the thoughts, there's just this that cannot really be put in words.
mm. But the mind is still trying to
To grasp it, yeah,
yeah.
but you feel it at the same time.
Yeah,
So it's quite of both happening, right?
yeah, because it's squeezing like,
Hmm.
mm. Yes, the discomfort of this place that the
Hmm.
mind just doesn't know and doesn't understand.
Yeah, discomfort. Yeah, because you're so used to it being otherwise, right? Being different. the mind is trying to grasp it, but it's not getting any hold, and it's like fighting, maybe even fighting for survival, fighting for like to get any grip.
Yeah.
But what if there's no need for grip? So in this, talking about grip, talking about control and getting any hold, who is actually trying to get any hold? Is there? Can you really locate you? Where is you in this? Is there even any you in this? Can you point out there is me? Or is it just
Well,
this?
there for me there is the mind, and then there's the observing me that is also observing the mind and observing all the things.
Mhm. And
Mm.
what if that was even a thought? Because that is also a concept.
Yeah, it is. But
Observing me.
if that is part of this human existence, I cannot be a human life without that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. When I hear
I
you
wrote the soul
in
into something.
when I hear you say that, I'm like, yes, I can so recognize that because I believed that also for a long time. And now I'm like, I cannot say that that is true, and I cannot say that that is not true. I can only say that that is still a belief. It's still a thought that that is, right? And this that is between thoughts and no thoughts, between me and no me, between beliefs and no beliefs, that is, and I cannot, and that is saying too much because that's even a word, a concept, that's language.
Mm.
So, what am I without language, right? What am I without
Then
words?
it's also the question you even using terms to say, what's in between me and no me, or space, no space. Also, those are all concepts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's also why I started with I can only point.
Yeah,
It's not in the words that
yeah.
I say because all the words is language and concepts and it can be beautiful. Like poetry is very beautiful to me. Um, I don't really write it or something, but it's beautiful to me. But it like language and words can only get you so far,
Mm-hmm.
and everything, all the teachers, whether they're like very earthy or very spiritual or whatever, right? Or on all levels, they say all kinds of things, and it can look very beautiful and very wise and very whatever, but they're just words. Everything is just words. It's just in the essence, it's just blah blah blah.
Mm.
And yet there is something beyond words.
Yeah, that is just to me the experience, just
Yeah,
that which is happening. If I
yeah.
didn't have, but I cannot, as a human, in my belief, I cannot experience knowing a lot about, the brain and blah, the body. I cannot experience the experience without labeling it. It's not
Mhm.
possible
Yeah. There are words coming in to describe it, to label it. And indeed, yeah.
because that is how we're made. Like our
Mhm.
body and our mind just functions that way in this life. To
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
have an experience, it naturally translates into sensation, feeling, thought. It cannot just be
Hmm.
an experience.
That is still a belief. I have experienced both sides.
Hmm.
I have walked around, seen all kinds of things, without the label on it.
Yeah, my mind says it shouldn't be possible for you to do that if you were not sort of aware that you're walking.
This is what mind says. It's mind wants to know, and the mind is amazing in when you're at the grocery store and you need to pay, right? It's amazing at thinking about things that you want to think about.
Mm,
But what I'm like through this that is between thoughts and no thoughts, through what I'm pointing to, there is a possibility to live without the chattering mind, right? Without that continuing the whole time.
mm,
And to be very honest with you, like I've had moments in which I when in which it was totally silent, and there were moments when it was chattering again. Um, and yet it is such a difference than I've experienced in most of my life.
mm,
Also through these questions, I'm walking around and I'm just looking and being amazed by the things around me, like I'm a child again,
mm,
right? Like I'm a child again because they're just such wondrous creatures in that sense, and we have all experienced that as a child, and then we started to label and started, oh, this is this and this is that and this is whatever, and a child is just like it can feel sad. There's sadness. Oh, it's crying, cry, 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 and then there's a candy passing by, and it's like, oh, candy. It's like
mm,
it's just a flow of things happening without trying to even get anything, or without going to the past in that sense. Oh, because what we can do as adults is like, oh, um, I should work on myself, right? Oh, there are so many thoughts. I should meditate them away, or I should whatever, right? Doing all kinds of stuff because in the future I don't want to have them. So that's connected to the future. We do all kinds of things.
mm,
But a baby is just here in the moment, and life is happening and experiencing that without. So in that sense, it is without the real suffering, because even though it can feel pain, a pain is way more intense when it's connected to a story of what happened and what we did wrong and whatever the kind of fuck, right?
mm,
Sorry for my language. Um, so without all of that, without in that sense the mind, um, uh, um, without that going in that train of the mind with all the thoughts, they can pass by, but from like you probably know in the meditation world there are these analogies about thoughts and what you should do with them, right? Like that
come and go.
that there are clouds passing by.
Yeah,
Maybe you've heard that one. Oh, they're just clouds passing by. Don't give them any attention.
just observe
Just
and
observe. Just observe. And the thing is, these are own concepts. And then I'm like, oh, I should do this. But in that sense, I don't feel very free because I have to do that to be free, which is then, in that sense, in a future. When I do this, then in the future, I'm free. But the joke is, freedom is already here. But we cannot, it can be that we don't experience it, that it is not, and these are also just words, because what I'm pointing to is this unknown, this, and that is still giving it words. And the only thing for me that really did it, and that also really, in a sense, popped my mind, was either one of the questions, what is in between me and no me? What is in between thoughts and no thoughts? Or what am I without the thoughts? What am I even without a me in that sense? So what
Yeah.
are you?
Again, for me, it goes back to just being existence. But then
Yeah.
I'm,
And what's wrong with that?
I, I don't know. There's a strong sense that it's part of being human to have a history and have
Hmm.
an imagined future, even though it
Hmm.
always comes differently. But
Hmm.
that is sort of task of our human brain to provide us this.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, so I sense it's beautiful to be just in the moment, like when I
Hmm.
feel a blissful moment and I kind of, yeah, I don't know, there's no thought. I still doubt that there's ever no thought. It's just a question whether the thought is conscious or not, so that it happens in the back because there's always neurons firing. Just what happens in the brain, otherwise we're dead.
Hmm.
But whether it comes to the front or not,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, and I feel they don't have to come to the front. Like if I'm fully relaxed and fully present, then I just feel and I experience something.
Yeah.
But I feel that cannot exist without the other stuff. I cannot only be in that because then I would just get lost. I cannot be a function human being if I'm only in that space.
Only in the now, in that sense.
Yeah.
That is a belief, my dear. That is a belief.
Yeah.
And as for myself, I have experienced. I'm not talking in that sense about years, but I've experienced quite some time in which there was only now, and I was still functioning, and there were no, in that sense, distracting, unwanted. I would call them garbage thoughts.
Mm.
And there could be thoughts connected to the moment. For example, I feel my belly like, you know, moving and like, oh, what am I going to eat tonight, right?
Mhm.
That stuff. Um, and I know a guy who has been 7 years. It has been for him 7 years without all those, call them unwanted garbage thoughts, whatever we call them, right?
Mm.
Only practical, only thoughts on demand in that sense.
Yeah, and now my
And
mind says, yeah, okay, but that's really a lot of effort if you want to be sort of like a monk and
he's
refrain.
not a monk. He's not a monk.
No, no,
And and
no,
and
I don't know this person,
so
but
so
that's,
just know it is not a lot of effort. That is also a belief. And you can believe it. You can choose. You can do whatever you want.
mm-hmm,
But I'm just saying that it is possible.
mm,
And it doesn't have to take like um it doesn't have to take an enormous amount of time.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sense that there's also such a precious gift in it to be able to look back and to anticipate something in
Of
the
course.
future. That makes the mind also resist. Like, why would we not do that? It is quite cool that we're able to do it.
I so agree.
I would really love to be able to more often really tell the mind, it's okay.
Hmm.
It's okay.
Hmm.
Now we just take a rest. Let
Yeah.
me just rest for a moment.
Take it easy.
That 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 is what I'm aiming for, kind of to to really, when it feels so squeezed like it has, to be able to have that sort of power to really be like, stop, just calm down.
Yeah.
I need to just be and not have all this happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that would definitely be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And again comes the thought, yeah, but that's quite tough, you know?
Yeah. And that's just a belief. That's
Yeah.
just a belief. So before we go into that, into the belief stuff, so now, like, what you are longing for is possible. And actually, what you're longing for is already this. This that you're longing for is already this.
Yeah, in a way,
To
it's also
explain,
available if we remove, if we are not busy with, then that it's not
yeah,
possible. Yeah.
if there's no mind, in that sense, there's only now. And the opposite, what you're also talking about, what you're saying, like this is not what I want, like that you don't go back to the past and you don't go further into the future because you also love that to do that. And I love
Mm,
that too. But what I'm
mm,
talking about is freedom from that in the sense that you either choose to do that or you're just here now, right? Like the toddler.
yeah.
Oh, right?
Mm,
Like
yeah.
being amazed by life, by just because there is only now, because
Mm,
that's the truth. It seems
yeah.
all very real, the past and the future thing, right? It seems all so real. This happened then, and this happened then, and maybe this will happen in the future. But it's just a thought. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
is there a past here now? Is there a future here now? Is there, you can only think of it. You
Mm,
can only, and move to that because of that, in that sense. So that is an illusion.
yeah. I feel the past in a way also lies in ourselves. There's a sort of a past trapped in ourselves, but it might not have to influence us that much if it's not
Yeah,
the mind. Like,
yeah,
um,
exactly. So
yeah,
what
yeah,
if you are the one who chooses
mm,
in that sense? Whatever is you anyway.
yeah, exactly. The you.
So that there is not the hindrance of all the thoughts and the streams coming on and on and on. You're just here and now, and sometimes there's something coming up, that there's a sense of freedom from it. Um, and
Mm,
that when you choose to, you go back to, oh, that then and that then, and you can do a recap, and it's nice, right? So that kind of stuff. And the only thing that I know, and I don't really know anything, I can only point towards, is towards that which is in between mind and no mind.
mm.
What is there in between the mind and no mind?
Funny, what came to me was a vision of a waterfall going from the bottom to the top, like the water was flowing the other way around.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Mm. And what is in between a vision and no vision?
Space. Yeah, that's the only thing mind can come up with. Yeah.
Hmm. And what are you without space? And all the concepts that the mind comes up with, and all the thoughts. What are you without thoughts?
It says, and I'm not.
Then I'm not?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Is there even a you in that sense? Is there a you? Can you locate you?
No, my brain now comes again to the like, yeah, but you learned how consciousness works in the body and it's with all the different cells in the brain and yeah.
Yeah.
So
It
it's
comes
not
up.
like one place. Consciousness is not in one place. It's like,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So without all of that, there
yeah,
is there even
nothing. Yeah.
nothing? Yeah.
It's a weird word, nothing. How can we
Yeah.
even have a word for nothing? I don't know. It's kind of strange, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But how does it feel in that nothing? How do you feel, by the way?
Oh, the cat feeder, sorry.
Huh?
That's my cat feeder making a sound now.
The cat feeder. Great to have a cat
Um,
feeder with you.
First word that came to me was quiet and peaceful, but then it said that makes no sense. If there's nothing, then you also can't feel nothing. So, like, there will be nothing to feel. Like, there is no feeling. There's just nothing.
And yet, what a joy of it. What do you feel? What you just said? At this moment.
Stillness.
Hmm. Yeah.
It feels like no movement,
Hmm.
like a holding breath. Like there's no in and no out breath, just holding the breath.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Isn't it quite amazing?
Yeah, I'm a person who resists not moving,
Ah.
silence,
Ah.
and calm. It has been quite a challenging journey to
Hmm.
do a little bit more
Hmm.
stillness and calm.
And what if you cannot, what if you couldn't resist this?
Now the thought came, it's scary.
Hmm.
It feels like then I have no power, no control, and basically it's like I could also die any moment.
Hmm. Yeah. And what if the control is just a thought and the dying is just a concept in that sense? And there's just this. But
Yeah,
if
the
there's no
question
need to,
again,
yeah.
the mind again questions, yeah, but then where is the life? There is no life. It's saying that there is no life.
Hmm.
How, how is that living?
Hmm.
Hmm.
So what is in between? Mind and no mind, where it's coming back in again. But there in between, They're in between. In the in between, we are meeting. And I don't even know. I don't even know. I have no clue. Because how can I put this into words?
Mm.
Yet there we are, right? In this in between. Wherever it is that we
Mm.
are. How does that feel? Anything is welcome here.
There's
Anything.
a curiosity. A little bit of a bewilderment, puzzling, like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then the mind also coming and saying, well, but what is all this now for?
Uh-huh. It wants to know, what
Why,
is it for?
why are we doing that? What's the point? It
What's
doesn't
the
matter.
point?
There's a thought and then there's no thought, and there's next thought. So what's the point? Mm.
Yeah. What if there was no point? But the
Yeah, that
mind
makes
was
no
trying
sense.
to get what?
That makes no sense to my mind.
Yeah. And what in that sense, if essentially it doesn't make any sense.
Mm.
Yet here there is a flow, right? There is a flow. There is a if you don't feel it, also let me know. But in this, in the I don't know, in the between, for me there is wow, it's just everything is as you said, so sharp. There's presence doesn't capture it, and yet it feels so present. As if I've never been present before. And there's clarity, there's kind of joy in it for me now. And every time is different. Sometimes it's just whoa. Sometimes it's just and there's sometimes there are no words. How would it be if you just open your eyes and from this look into? You can look at me, but you can also look around you
Mm.
because you're in the world, in the relative. Because we're speaking a lot about absolute, right? Absolute truth. And from that absolute truth in the relative, looking into the world,
Yeah, I really sense this undercurrent of, I don't know, like mysterious magic.
I love it. Mysterious magic. Yeah, it's quite mysterious. Yeah,
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 from which all this springs that I can see or not see.
yeah,
I mean, I'm looking there and it seems there's an empty space, but it's not empty. It's just my eyes can't see.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And again, I have a feeling of like this is not what the human is designed to. I don't know how to say, to flow in all the time. Like,
Hmm. And even that is just a belief.
oh yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
and you can live with that belief because you choose in that sense, right? I'm not saying that you should do anything because I don't know shit. So I'm just saying that these things that you come up with are just beliefs, and
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
I lived most of my life with them.
Mm.
And sometimes they're coming in, and then I'm like, I'm looking at them, and it just dissolves because I see like the illusion of it. It's like,
Mm.
because what is here, I cannot put it into words. Yet from there are things that I love to do,
Mm.
right? From there, I love to do this. Oh my God, this is amazing,
Yeah, it
right?
feels like this kind of golden, glittery, mysterious magic river out of which a lot of creative pew, pew, pew come out.
I love the pews. That was one of the best parts of this description, like the pews.
Yeah,
Yeah, the pews,
yeah,
like firework.
yeah.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah,
Sparks, just really sparks. Yeah,
yeah,
of creative energy that does its own thing.
yeah.
Mm.
And from that, you could even do the same things as you did before.
Mm.
You choose,
Mm.
and you can either do that very willfully. Oh, I'm going to make this work, and if it works, eventually you can see afterwards if it, which feels quite far away from this flow.
Mm.
And there's also like I love to do this, which feels to me way more connected to that flow because that goes like I love to do this, and it like it's really happening. Like I don't really have to like sweat and tears and all, right?
Yeah,
um, and yet there can be tears, and I can feel anything. Um, and yet it can also be without a lot of the things that made me suffer.
mm. Mm.
Um, yeah, I
So are you basically saying you would invite anybody to try to take more time space in that place of, oh, I don't know what
yeah
this is.
from the end of no,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. There is, of course, there's an open invitation in that sense, right? And that's just because I love it. And if that is something for you, only you can decide. And there is a sense that at, that essentially there is
Hmm.
only this. Because what is the rest?
Entertainment.
Is made up thoughts. It can be entertainment. It can be, of course. I love some kind of thoughts. Like I love to think about, like, always when people say something about the pink elephant, I'm like, yeah, pink elephant, right? It's just an amazing thought. A pink elephant. It's just it makes me it makes it so joyful. So
Yeah,
indeed,
it's
that
just
kind of stuff.
anything. It's just
And
all entertainment for the mind. Like,
yes, but is it but like when in the mind game, when believing all of that, when taking it so seriously, it
hmm.
wasn't that fun for me anymore, right? So when in that I don't know, let's call it this for now, right?
Hmm.
By lack of better words, because there are essentially any, not any. But in that I don't know, from that, and actually, and that is seems like the base of everything. It's just I just love to flow from there.
Hmm.
And still, there is a longing to have a child.
Hmm.
To be specific, multiple. So I hear you about being pregnant. Like, oh, right, because I would also love to have a child, and for you that's coming very soon, and for me that part was actually um, not even a week ago being blown apart, um, and in that I felt sadness.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what happened is that Marima, you've seen her website and you know about her work, and I told you about how much I love her, and that is still true. And at the same time, we are not going on that path as in a relationship together. And that whole, um, as in the traditional sense, the breaking up part, it was so strange for me because when we were together and we were for some days together, so we had the talk about this, and then still we were together for some days, and there was no moment of crying.
Hmm.
And in that, there is this cautiousness, like, I don't want to go in spiritual bypass or any kind of
Mhm.
bypass, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, there was even the thought and the belief coming in, oh, I should cry, right?
Mhm.
But that is just a belief.
Yeah. Can come anytime later or not.
Yeah, or not. So I don't know in that sense. And
Yeah.
yet, um, there is, and that is also a belief, but it does feel like a serving one, like a like a barometer in a kind of sense for myself that when I feel numb, there's something I'm not feeling. That's in general the sense that I have, right? But in these moments together, I didn't feel numb
Mhm.
because what I felt was love. I felt so much love.
Hmm.
I was holding her in my arms, she was crying, and there was only love.
Hmm.
And that I know to be true. That was there. And whatever true is, but that's what I felt, right? So because it's all just words, but
Yeah.
and yet it's beautiful to talk about it. I mean, we got to use some kind of words to tell the story or whatever, right? So and this, um, yeah. So in that sense, I know that like in the past there would have been a lot of stories around it, and these stories mostly create the suffering that I then go through.
Mhm.
That it should be different. For example, that was a story that in most relationships I've had, and then it didn't go on, and then oh, the crying and all the suffering that came also with it. I did a lot of crazy things in that, trying to stick together, right? And and now there was I know that even though I love her and that for me there was like if she wouldn't say no in that sense, I don't want to continue, I would be like, let's go. But
Mhm.
she doesn't want to, and I already also felt it a little bit in the connection. And when I heard it, I know it, I knew it to be right in that sense. There was a kind of acceptance in
Mhm.
right in that, and yeah, without that acceptance, there probably would have been a lot of suffering.
Mm.
And now it's just that, and yeah, yeah. So what I wanted to tell you about the child thing, that was a thing that when the next day when I was home again, which is some days ago, that next day I saw myself going to the phone. I saw myself going to all kinds of distractions, right? And feeling like I want to see a movie, and I don't watch movies like regularly, so I feel like okay, there's something happening here. If I want to go away from this moment,
Mm-hmm.
and there's something that is not being felt.
Mm-hmm.
That is the at least that's the
One
experience.
of the beliefs, yeah.
Yeah, there's also a belief, and still that was what was going on in that sense, because what I did, what I discovered, we talked about it. We really take the time together to um, go through this, as in we see it as a line that goes down, um, our relationship in that sense, and we still talk about it. We still connect, and we connect less and less until we go out of it, instead of a cold cut. Doesn't feel serving and good for us. So that's how we do it. So I talk with her about it, and I'm saying like I don't feel that much. I know there's something going on, and then the cat.
Yeah.
And then there was this moment in which, um, yeah, I she was like, she asked me a question. I was like, oh, it's the thing that I was really holding on to, of having a child together.
Mm.
And then I felt the tears, and yet there's acceptance in that. So there's not a long suffering. It's just feeling, and then, you know.
Yeah. Mm. I,
So
I'm very, like I say, envious then when I hear that, because I'm like, oh, I wish I could have had that. And yet I know my journey is what I needed. I had to experience the deepest suffering and going through all those emotions that I did in the last, 15 months or so. And yeah, yet I'm like, oh yeah, that, because we both knew we could not, that
yeah.
could not be together. We would not have the child together. And that for me also, I think the breakup was more breaking up with the dream of having that child with him, because there was so much love that
Mm,
this is
yeah.
the nest. This must be the nest for this being to come into the world. How could it not with this love?
Mhm.
How could it
Yeah,
not
yeah,
do
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, there was the soul. She was here. She was here with us. But yeah, she could not, be manifested.
Mm,
So yeah, for me that was extremely, extremely painful. But maybe
mm,
also because of my situation, how old I am and all that. But when I hear you say that, then there's really a, yeah, acknowledgement of, like, I wish that in the future I could experience a little bit less suffering. Pain,
mm,
yes, but
mm.
not the suffering.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm very aware of the time.
Yeah, I
Um,
just wanted to ask you. Yeah.
so,
Mm, yeah, so
but I'm also grateful that you share your
yeah,
personal situation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I wish for you that there be less suffering coming into your life. And when I look at myself, it was all connected to the stories and the sandcastles I made, just as with the sandcastle with the child. Because, yeah,
Yeah,
apparently yeah, that wasn't, and that is even a belief meant for me in that sense, in this connection. And that is even a belief. So
yeah,
in the unknown, the things happen, and it's so rich.
yeah,
And trying to fill it in can be, you can choose if you do it or not. With some things I want to, and with some things I'm like, no, let's just let that magic flow, what you told about, right? Coming back to that pew pew with the pew pews and that all kind of stuff.
sparkles. Yeah,
Let's let it unfold.
yeah, the mysterious magical river. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And I really wish that for you too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it's definitely yeah, something I feel a little bit more of in the last few months since I've been on this journey to now really, really become a mother.
Mm,
Um,
beautiful.
I guess there is nothing more that will pull me into surrendering,
Hmm.
uh, and
Mm,
really, yeah, say, I don't know and I cannot control. Like, not knowing for me is the ultimate uh, way of saying I give up control. I release control.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
really don't know.
Enjoy the journey
Thank you. Thank
of
you.
now,
Yes,
because
now.
what journey is there? But it's a nice experience, right?
No journey. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm going to stop the recording here, and then I'm going to tell you something.